Well, this is my 1989 Toyota Tercel. Do a quick walk around. It's not doing too bad for rust. I mean, lots of you that don't live in rusty areas of the world are probably saying, "Are you crazy? Look at all that rust. Your rocker panel's gone, bud." Well, yes, I know. That's actually not too half-assed bad for me anyways. I mean, I guess I'm kind of the person who buys the cars nobody else wants and kind of gets some rusty units, but yeah, anyways, here's the wheel well. I got some silicone in the holes, so the dust doesn't pour in. Same with behind the wheels here. This one's not as bad, it's still there, but you can see some holes. And I just soaked old bed sheet in transmission fluid and jammed it in there. That totally fixes it. There's more rot out. I did manage to find all four of the center cap things. A couple of them are in rough shape, and I lost that. I still have it, but it fell off. These tires are like from the 90s, so they're just about done. So pop the hood really quick. Maybe we'll cold start it and then we'll listen to it under the hood. Oops. Forget where the wipers are on this thing. Runs really good. Well, at least as absolute good as one could expect one of these old Toyota variable Venturi carburetors to run. Now, if you don't know what one of these cars are like, check out all those vacuum lines. These cars are kind of famous for that. And believe it or not, I've sorted through every single one of those vacuum lines and made sure everything was all working up to spec. Lots of it was bypassed and made the car run funny, or people over the years have hooked stuff up in the wrong spots, and that really messes with how these things run. These things have to have their perfect vacuum setup, or else they just don't run for you. And I put new plugs, plug wires, distributor cap and rotor. I took the carburetor apart and cleaned it out and stuff. There's multiple stages of choke on this carburetor. I don't want to go in this video. I don't want to go into explaining how all of this stuff is working, but to make it quick and easy to explain for this video, I disabled there's like a vacuum part of it on the side of the carburetor that when this car is cold below a certain temperature, that vacuum line's supposed to be cut off, and that allows it to run richer. But I just bypassed that and ran constant vacuum to that, so it doesn't richen it up, or else it just chugs. Like, it runs way too rich when that choke kicks in, or that part of the choke, I should say. But yeah, I'm I better be careful because I could go on a total tangent on it all. But we'll just say I disabled about 75% of the choke. I kind of wiped down the dash here for the video. Prettier up a little bit. This thing, well, this body has 218,000 kilometers. But the engine and transmission, or transaxle I should say, have about 298,000. And the other parts Tercel hiding over here. This is the one that I used to drive for like 1 week in high school. I drove it for just around here for most of the summer break in 2011, I think. But yeah, then I ended up smacking a deer. I left it on the side of the road and some kids came around and rolled it into the ditch. So that sure ended that one's life. But whatever, it's no big deal because this body actually had less rust, but it had a messed up differential. Portion of the transaxle was totally screwed, so just did this swap and now I've got myself a cute little car. I basically helped my neighbor get a load of wood and he hauled these home for me. So yeah, after extensive tweaking and stuff on this carburetor, I've got it to run fairly good. Like, I can't really complain. The car is still gutless, but that's just typical for these engines. They're already a small engine. And they, oh shoot, this gate is open. I wonder if it's supposed to be. Oh, Mom took it down. Okay. Now I forget what I was talking about. Typical ADD. Oh, that bothers me. I want to finish what I was saying, but I can't remember what I was friggin' saying. Whatever, probably wasn't too important. We got some pretty cool cloudage going on. It's all it's been here all day. Straight little storms blowing through. Although when it's cold, it's a little bit boggy, but I mean, it's to be expected. I disabled most of the choke. But no, she just cruises down the road just perfect. Oh, I remember what I was talking about now. The engines are small, and plus you got bad valve stem seals. All these engines always got bad valve stem seals, so they would leak in oil into the intake, like plenum or whatever, right above where the valve is. And carbon them up. So it's probably definitely got clogged up intake valves. And probably exhaust to some degree, but usually those stay pretty clean because they get so hot. But yeah, let's just turn around here. Screw this. This thing makes so much road noise with these old tires. My exhaust is rattling up on a heat shield when I put it in reverse. Oh yeah, I got a bad CV shaft now, the boot ripped. Windshield's pretty dirty, as you can tell. definitely doesn't lack power. Like, you can easily get up to 80 kilometers an hour. Back when I was in high school, and when this engine and tranny was in the other body, it had its original carburetor on it. That thing was messed right up. Like, the variable Venturi piston thing would always get stuck and make it just totally run wonky. Plus, all the vacuum components were mismatched, and, or should I say, the vacuum lines were all mismatched. Well, you know what? Let's just go straight. Man, that thing did not run good at all. It barely had any power. It never idled right at all. So it's quite a contrast to drive this car as compared to the other Tercel. It runs pretty much perfect. Except if you know what these carbs are like, you'll know what I'm talking about. But there's this little like bleed valve in the air intake. And it has a hose going down to a part where it's connected to the main jet. And that valve's electronic. And there's a little, very basic, but there's a computer. And it takes inputs from an O2 sensor and a throttle position switch and like one or two other things, can't really, well, temperature, I guess. Anyways, and it'll actually like open up just as much as it needs to introduce air to the main fuel jet, so the main fuel stream or whatever, and that's how it would lean out. I believe anyways, that's how it leans out the fuel mixture, and just for optimum mix. But those always mess up and go bad, whether it's the valve itself or it's just components that tell the computer what to set the valve to. But everybody always just junks them, and I still have it on there, but I just unplugged it so it doesn't lean it out anymore, because like as soon as the car warmed up and that thing would kick in or whatever, I can't remember, maybe it did it when it was cold too, but it would idle perfect. As soon as you touch the gas, it just like barely move. It would never stall. It would just bog right down and had nothing. So yeah, you unplug it, it all went away except it ran a little bit rich. But that's how these carbs are supposed to be set. There's actually an adjustment screw at the very back of the main fuel. It's the main jet adjustment is what it is. You can adjust the main jet on this car along with the pilot jet. And forgive me as I zone out. And those are adjusted to like maximum richness. And then that lean out valve thing is supposed to make it perfect. But yeah, they frequently mess up and make the car run too lean. So it's unplugged, and I just tweaked the main jet and the pilot jet. No, I didn't have to move that too much, but the main jet I had to screw in a long ways. Essentially find the perfect mixture myself. Although in the summer here is what I have it set to, so average temperature 15 degrees ish. You know, if it's up at 30, it starts to run a little wee bit rich, and if it's 0, it's starting to run a little wee bit lean. And then of course, if it's like minus 30 and you have it set for plus 15 weather, it'll be super lean, so you have to undo the screw a bit. Basically have to adjust it for every 20 degrees temperature change. But wow, look at that nice cloudage. And then just bam, goes to dark. That's really neat. cool. And this car always used to be horrible for starting. Like, hard to start, and sometimes it would just detonate really bad when you were starting it, you know. But after all this work, it starts absolutely perfect. And I didn't touch the gas there. These Tercels actually have this rather ingenious throttle positioner thing. So it's getting manifold vacuum. When the engine's running, there's manifold vacuum, and then it pulls it closed, or so it's closing the throttle. But then when you shut the key off, or if you give it gas, you lose manifold vacuum, and a spring in there pushes down on the throttle, or if you're pressing the throttle, it just pushes down, and then when you let off the throttle hits it, and then it acts as a dash pot, you know. But then when you shut it off, it presses down the throttle for you a little bit to kind of rev it up when you start it. And it also kicks in a little bit when you have the power steering working hard. As you can hear. Nice and quiet. Can't remember if I said this already, but this is, I don't know if it's black mold, or I've always called it poplar junk. Because it seems like whenever you're around poplars, that stuff is just on your car if it hasn't been washed in like 20 years. You can see when it's wet, it does wipe off. So demonstrate the dash pod function. She's a little tuner. Well, let's drive her like a tuner. Get stuck in the sand. That's everything that little car's got. Although I definitely didn't hit red line there. I don't really like to red line my vehicles, or at least not very many of them anyways. Of course, friggin' horses are walking all over the road, making it rough. Oh, well, I guess I might as well just end the video here. Crap, man, 19 minutes? Nobody's gonna watch all of this. Anyways, if you did make it to the end, you're a champ.